What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do with me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does also help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm also. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we are headed back to the People's Republic of Chicago because the Emperor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, has signed an executive order to study reparations. Yes, in the People's Republic of Chicago, Emperor Brandon Johnson will be studying reparations via an executive order that he signed in honor of Juneteenth. Now, let's take a moment to be honest and get real about what this executive order actually is. The reality is this: he signed this in an attempt to pacify the Black citizen population of Chicago. It is no secret that the Black citizen population of Chicago has been highly upset at the special treatment that illegal immigrants have been receiving in the city of Chicago. They've been going to city hall meetings, causing a ruckus, making things very difficult for Brandon Johnson, especially in an election year when it appears as if Black support for Biden might not be as strong as it was last year. So what do you do when you've been prioritizing illegal immigrants over Black American citizens in the city of Chicago, when you've been placing literally thousands and housing literally thousands of illegal immigrants in Black neighborhoods across the south and west side of Chicago? Meanwhile, the citizen population of those same neighborhoods that are homeless remain in the streets. How do you pacify that population who is upset in the middle of an election year? You sign into law a reparations executive order. This is the new hustle. It's the new grift for mayors and governors across cities and states in America that are DNC cities and states. We saw this recently occur in New York as well. I believe this was back in December of last year. New York to consider reparations for descendants of enslaved people. I don't know what descendants of enslaved people are. I don't know who that is and who they're referring to, but we'll go with it. Descendants of enslaved people. Governor Kathy Hochul signed a bill that will create the nation's third statewide task force to examine possible, keyword is possible, reparations for the lasting impact of slavery. Once again, the descendants of enslaved people, whoever that is. My point is this: this is just simply nothing more than a grift to pacify Black Americans in these cities in the middle of an election year where Black support for Joe Biden seems to be not as strong as it was in the past, on top of the fact that many Black Americans in these same DNC cities are upset at the fact that these DNC politicians that they elected into city council and to become mayor and governor, they are prioritizing illegal immigrants over them. Right. So now what I want to do is get into this news clip here, and let's hear a little bit of what Brandon Johnson actually had to say during the Juneteenth celebration, in which he announced that he signed an executive order to study reparations.
Terrence and Sylvia, Chicago would become the second largest U.S. city after Los Angeles to study reparations for Black residents. And Johnson's executive order begins with an apology on behalf of the city for the historical wrongs committed to Black Chicagoans and their ancestors.
Reparations will be an investment in our neighborhoods and our people. Reparations will unlock the doors for prosperity to fully flow through the neighborhoods that have been disinvested in for decades.
If I may put my, tinfoil hat on for a moment, I find it very interesting that he wants to all of a sudden sign a reparations executive order, which creates a task force to study reparation that will be designed to put in place programs that will reinvest into these so-called disinvested communities. I find it very interesting that he's doing this now that he has filled those same disinvested communities up with illegal immigrants. Could this actually be a ploy to use reparations as a means to subsidize the migrant crisis in Chicago? That's just a question that I'm throwing out there. Like I said, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on for a moment. I don't know. Just sounds a bit fishy, and it sounds a little bit too convenient.
And as we grapple with the challenges and the hard-fought victories to get to this point, we must never forget our goal to make sure that reparations become a reality for Black residents of this city.
So this executive order creates a reparations task force that will create a definition and framework for reparations, identify areas for restorative action like in housing, jobs, education, criminal justice. It'll conduct a comprehensive study of the harmful policies that have contributed to segregation and poverty in Chicago. So think about things like housing discrimination, redlining, and the construction of interstates that divided neighborhoods, etc. And finally, it will make recommendations to the mayor and city council for action. The mayor has pledged $500,000 for this effort in the current city budget. No word on whether the study will come up with a funding source to provide resources for reparations.
The reason that they haven't come up with a funding source for reparations, right? Let's be honest. Let's get real. The reason that they haven't come up with a funding source for it, but right now they're just focused on this so-called study, is because of the fact that what's going to happen is this. At best, they're going to spend $500,000 on a reparations book report, right? Because they did say that they're set aside $500,000 to do this study. So after this $500,000 book report, what's going to come out of it is that they're going to say reparations is going to be a host of programs that will assist people into getting into housing, schools, and jobs, right? That's what they're going to say. But the interesting thing is this: what they're doing and what they plan on doing is repackaging programs that currently already exist for so-called, minority communities in Chicago. They're going to repackage programs that are already in existence and sell it to you under the guise of reparations, right? And that is very wicked and diabolical, but that's exactly what's going to happen. That's why you don't need a new source of funding. We're going to take programs that already exist, repackage it under the guise of reparations, and sell it back to you as if we did something for you when we really did absolutely nothing. That's what's going to happen, and that's why there is no need for a source of funding as it pertains to reparations, because one thing that they're not going to do in the city of Chicago is give out cash payments. We've seen across the board any and every time reparations comes up in these task force meetings and hearings that are put forth, when it comes to cash payments, it is always an immediate no. And they respond by saying what we're going to do is put in place programs to ease your way into getting houses, schools, and certain funding from maybe startup businesses. Once again, in closing, these are literally all programs that currently exist. They currently exist now, but they're going to sell it to you as if they're giving you reparations when you really have access to it right now. It doesn't get any more diabolical than that. But that's Chicago for you. That's Brandon Johnson for you. And that's the DNC for you in a nutshell as it pertains to their relationship with Black America. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So thank you for watching today's video. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.